On March 12, 1963, the North Carolina Assembly passed a joint resolution honoring the life and memory of Henry Alvord Scott of the Hawfields community of Alamance County. Mr. Scott was described as an outstanding citizen and leader in the affairs of his church, community, and state. In particular, the resolution expressed its appreciation for the contribution that Mr. Scott made in the field of service to the educational aspirations of the state of North Carolina. The resolution was signed by T. Clarence Stone, President of the Senate, and by H. Clifton Blue, Speaker of the House of Representatives. If Henry were here today, he might say that his accomplishments were due in part to the encouragement and admonition of his father, Robert W. Scott, or Farmer Bob as he was known. Robert encouraged all of his children to pursue higher education and to give back to their community. Henry Alvord Scott was born on February 25, 1898, in Alamance County, North Carolina. He was the ninth child born to Robert Walter Scott and his wife Elizabeth Hughes Scott. The Scotts owned and managed the prosperous and successful Melville Farm. Robert and Elizabeth, known as Lizzie, raised stock such as horses, sheep, cows, and pigs, and also grew many field crops and fruits. Lizzie often managed the day-to-day operation of the farm, freeing Robert to expend his considerable energies on his church, Alamance County, and the state of North Carolina. Henry was named for his father's friend and mentor, Henry Elijah Alvord. Robert met Henry Alvord during the winter of 1882 when he made a remarkable journey, traveling up north to visit progressive and successful farms in Pennsylvania and upstate New York. Robert spent several months working at Houghton Farm near Mountainville, New York. Mr. Alvord, who was the director of an experimental agricultural station at Houghton Farm, served as Robert's mentor. It was Robert's intention to learn progressive farming techniques that he could put to use back home in North Carolina. He would go on to instill this knowledge and desire in his children, and their farms prospered as a result of his diligence. Butter produced by Melville Farm was so sought after for its high quality, the Scotts sold all that they made and purchased butter for their household from a neighboring farm. One secret to Robert and Lizzie's fine butter was Robert's herd of Jersey cows. Jersey cows produce quality milk that contains very high butter fat. Robert learned about Jersey cows while at Houghton Farm. Many people are familiar with Houghton Farm today, as it was featured in the work of the artist Winslow Homer. Mr. Homer was in residence a few years before Robert's visit. He painted rural scenes, and the Jersey cow was often featured in his work. Henry loved living on his parents' farm and enjoyed hunting and fishing with his brothers. He had a wonderful sense of humor and enjoyed inventing nicknames for his brothers and sisters. His nickname for his sister Elizabeth was Polly. Jim was the name he gave his younger brother, Anderson Hughes Scott. Henry attended the Hawfield School and graduated in 1915. He went on to attend the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where he planned to study medicine, like his older brother Floyd. Henry was well regarded by his classmates for his honesty, ability, and genial manner. He was athletic and went out for track for 2 years before giving it up to devote himself to the study of medicine. Henry's brother Ralph, who would also go out for track at NC State, admitted that Henry was the fastest runner in the family. One time, when the family was on its way to Greensboro, they discovered that they had forgotten their tickets at home. Henry, being the fastest runner, ran back to the house, collected the tickets, and ran back to meet them before train time. Henry's senior year at UNC should have been a wonderful and happy time, but for Henry and everyone else in Chapel Hill, normal life was overtaken by 2 global crises, the Great War and the Spanish flu epidemic. Almost overnight, the UNC campus began to resemble a military academy. Dormitory buildings were renamed as barracks. Many students, including Henry, enlisted in the Student Army Training Corps. He was still enrolled in medical school, but took part in military drills and training. The war ended in November of 1918, but the Spanish flu epidemic did not, and the second-year medical students were recruited to care for patients. The Scott family experienced a terrible blow when Henry's older brother James Edwin died within a month of beginning his own basic training at Camp Humphreys, Virginia. Here he writes to his older brother Floyd, who was in medical school in Philadelphia.
Company G, 8th Engineer Training Regiment, Camp A.A. Humphrey, Virginia. Dear Floyd, I am 112 miles from Philadelphia, 17 from Washington, 6 miles from Mount Vernon. I've just got in from another company to this company. Stayed all day in woods waiting for orders. I was examined and put in Class A. I expect I will go to France. I will go to Washington as soon as I can get off. When are you going to France? I work here every day. I don't ever see a Sunday school. How is the war going on? I don't think I'll make the regular army on account of getting lightheaded, but will go until I drop.
After graduation, Henry returned home to Haw River, eager to take up normal life as a dairy farmer. He was to become one of the most prominent dairy farmers in the Hawfields community. Henry's McCormick tractor is still in the family and was beautifully restored by his grandson Edwin Scott. Henry kept track of his herd with ear tags and ear tattoos. Here are some examples. Henry married Margaret Woodley White on Thursday, December 29, 1925. She surprised him with an Elgin pocket watch for Christmas that year. Henry's grandson Edwin still has the watch with its unusual fob, a Lincoln head penny. Henry and Margaret's first child, Paisley White Scott, was born on March 30, 1927. Over the next 12 years, they would have 3 more children, Margaret Graham, Henry Oliver Jr., and Nancy Jane. In 1927, the year that his first child was born, Henry and his brother Ralph Scott started a retail milk distribution business on Henry's farm. They named the new business Melville Dairy in honor of their parents' farm. The business grew and in 1935 moved into a brand new location in downtown Burlington. The building still stands and is now Alamance Foods. Henry's parents always encouraged their children to give back to their community. Henry was particularly devoted to his church and to the field of public education. Henry was an active member of Hawfields Presbyterian Church. On November 6, 1932, he was elected an elder and served as clerk of the session for many years. In 1957, he represented Orange Presbytery at the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church in Birmingham, Alabama. Like his father, Henry had a particular interest in the upkeep of the cemetery where most of their family was buried. Henry was a member of the Alexander Wilson School Committee, and in 1938 he was elected to the Alamance County Board of Education and served until 1962. For several years he served as chairman of the board. In the school year 1948-49, he was president of the State School Boards Association. In 1943, Henry was appointed by Governor Broughton to the Board of Trustees of the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State College, now University, located in Greensboro, and was reappointed by succeeding governors until 1962. He was a member of the Fulbright Scholarship Committee at that institution. In later years, Henry was president of the Farmers Mutual Fire Insurance Company of Graham, located near the historic courthouse. For many years, Henry served as a trustee of Alamance General Hospital. Although Henry was always busy with his work and civic activities, he and his wife Margaret always made sure that their family shared their meals together. Henry stayed close to his brothers and sisters. This family photo was taken at the governor's mansion after Henry's brother Carr was elected as governor of North Carolina. On Sundays, Henry liked to take a drive around the area. He especially liked visiting the train station in downtown Mebane just to hear the train whistle. Perhaps he was thinking of his father, who so many years ago boarded a train in search of his own future. The words of Henry's college yearbook seem such an accurate tribute to Henry and his life. Commodore is one of the best all-round men to be found in the class. He is a hard worker, an excellent student, and a true friend. For 2 years he was interested in track, but for the last 2 years medicine has occupied his time. He owns the best farm in North Carolina, and with his honesty, ability, and genial manner, we predict for him the success that his vigor and energy merit. Henry passed away in 1962 at the age of 64. He was laid to rest alongside his many ancestors in the cemetery at Hawfields Presbyterian Church. He will be remembered as a caring father, prominent farmer, church leader, and an advocate of education.